Which big contract on the Giants is most likely to be traded eventually? Let's talk about it right here on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, y'all? I'm Alan Stiles. Welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, thanks to you, the #1 sports podcast network. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay, but I live in Sacramento now, and I host a show at Sacktown Sports 1140, as well as emceeing Sacramento Rivercast games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Today, we are talking about the big contracts that the Giants have, which one is most likely to be traded or who won't finish that contract with the Giants. We are also discussing the 5 moves that Just Baseball thinks the Giants should make. And last but not least, a player profile. It's been a while since we've done a player profile. This one is on top prospect Carlos Gutierrez. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Okay. So the player most likely to be traded or the player least likely to finish the contract that they're on with the Giants. So obviously we're talking about the big contracts, and those are the 3 that we're going to focus on: Rafael Devers, Matt Chapman, and Willy Adames. So that's who we're going through today for this exercise. And speaking of this exercise, I understand that Willy Adames and Matt Chapman both have no trade clauses, but how I kind of look at a no trade clause is they just want control, right? I don't think there are a lot of situations where it's been decided. Let's take Ketel Marte, for example. Ketel Marte does not want to, it doesn't seem like he wants to be on the Diamondbacks. Doesn't seem like the Diamondbacks still want him on the team. So the no trade clause is more so about control versus, no, I'm going to stay even though you don't want me. It's more about, well, I'm going to pick where I don't want to go, and in a reverse way, I'm going to pick where I want to go, or try to limit where you can just ship me off to. So the no trade clauses are important, but they're not necessarily important in the sense that you just can't get traded. It's more about, hey, well, don't trade me to these places, or I'd like to go to these places, giving the player a little bit more player control. But part of that too is how desirable that player is at that time. And it's pretty wild. I know the baseball contracts, MLB contracts, that's just how it goes. But some of these contracts are pretty wild. Let's start with Matt Chapman. Matt Chapman, like I said, Adames and Matt Chapman both have no trade clauses. Devers does not have a no trade clause. And when you talk about Matt Chapman, he's going to get $25.1 million through age 37. Now, here's the kicker with Matt Chapman. I looked this up. His birthday is April. Okay, his birthday is April. What does that mean? That means that Matt Chapman will basically be turning 38 at the beginning of the 2031 season. So he's going to be 38 for the duration of the season. It's not like he turns 38, in August or July. He turns 38 in April. That's a big deal. So he's the first option. Let's talk about the second option. Willy Adames. Willy Adames, this season he's at 13 mil. Then it jumps to $31 million for the next 5 seasons. He'll be a free agent at 36 years old. Last but not least, Rafael Devers. He's got the longest contract, but he's younger than Willy Adames and Matt Chapman. He's at 28 mil every season. He will be a free agent at 37. So they're all going to be free agents around the same time, right? So I think it's pretty simple who the most likely player is going to be traded. And in my opinion, it's not going to be Matt Chapman, because I don't think his bat is desirable enough for somebody to go get him, and that age factor is obviously a thing. I also just feel like the 2 positions, and I'm kind of gonna spoil the tease here, but third base and shortstop, they more so feel like we want our guys, right? So for me, it's not going to be Matt Chapman. He's the captain or one of the captains of the team. He's been with the team for a decent amount of time now. He signed that extension. I just don't think it'll be Matt Chapman. He does have the no trade clause. I don't know how desirable. I know he's an outstanding glove, but I do think there are a decent amount of good gloves out there. So I don't think it's going to be Matt Chapman. Like I said, I kind of spoiled the tease a bit with Willy Adames. I think shortstop is a position most teams would just like to have their guy, right? We're seeing it now with Bo Bichette. Is he going to have to move to second base? What the market looks like for a star shortstop like Bo Bichette. Normally, if you have to go get a star shortstop or pay money for a shortstop, something went wrong in your evaluations, because most teams want young stud shortstops that are just homegrown. That's what it is. So I don't think it's going to be Willy Adames, because he's already in his 30s. And as his birthday is in September, by the way. So as he gets older, you might try to move him somewhere else. He's going to lose value there. I don't see it being Willy Adames. He also has that no trade clause. So last but not least, that leaves us with Rafael Devers. Now, Rafael Devers, oh my goodness, that contract. But the bottom line is, when we're looking at assassins and who contenders down the line might be able to talk themselves into, I look at Rafael Devers as one of those guys. Let's take a Kyle Schwarber and his AAV. Kyle Schwarber doesn't even have a position, right? And he's in his 30s. So for somebody to, like the Phillies, to say, hey, come stay with us, I think it's kind of that same track where somebody might be convinced if Rafael Devers balls out. And obviously, these are all situations where the Giants don't compete at the level that we want them to compete. But if Rafael Devers balls out over the next couple years and the Giants just don't go to the playoffs and it just doesn't seem like this thing is going the right way. We talked about Tony Vitello yesterday. If that doesn't go well, I could see a team saying, yeah, we can go get Rafael Devers and he can basically be our version of Kyle Schwarber. We're paying him $28 million, but we know we're locked in there with one of the best bats in the game. So even though I said that no trade clauses, they don't necessarily hurt as much as you might think, it does help if you just don't have one. And yeah, it's pretty easily Rafael Devers, especially this. I didn't even mention this. If Bryce Eldridge is who the Giants think he's going to be, that makes at least one of them expendable, and Bryce Eldridge is going to be a lot cheaper than Rafael Devers. Again, hopefully these guys are winning games, so we're not thinking about it in this way, but it was just an exercise that I didn't think we had talked about enough. And a lot of people always bring up trade Chapman, trade whoever, and Matt Chapman has a no trade clause, which isn't a no starter. I think more so the no starter is the third base position, albeit very important. I just think that the market, there's just a lot around the market, in the market, that is going to dictate what Chapman's market would look like on top of the no trade clause. So I don't really see him going anywhere unless there's just a huge hole somebody has at third base. And I think a lot of people, especially, we've talked about the positionless baseball, a lot of teams and organizations find guys that they can just put and plug in different places. And as good as Matt Chapman's glove is, I don't know how that's valued on the same level as, somebody with bat to ball skills that's just extremely versatile and can play the position well enough. I mean, there are other guys floating around, especially at that age, right? With Matt Chapman in his 30s and only going to get older. So I just don't see Matt Chapman getting moved. I think he is a Giant for life, or for the rest of his career, at least. Willy Adames, I think most teams would just like to find their shortstop that's cheaper and homegrown. And again, Willy's in his 30s. So that leaves Rafael Devers because he's the assassin. Now, if Adames continues to ball out like this, if Adames' hitting is just out of this world and you just replaced what I just said about Rafael Devers with Adames, I could see that, but I just don't think Adames is as good of a hitter as Rafael Devers. That's pretty much it. All right, let's get to the next segment. Just Baseball came out with 5 moves the Giants should make. Some of them we've talked about before, some of them we haven't. Let's break it all down when we get back. More Locked On Giants coming up. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the game tips off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new: boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect, right before the games, right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour. Every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern, a little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Next segment, and this was a fun read. This is from Just Baseball. And Just Baseball, they're basically doing, it's a pretty, I should say, a popular thing to do on shows and things like that, where you pretend like you're a GM, right? This happens a lot in basketball, restructuring the Sacramento Kings, and they wanted to take a swing at completing the Giants roster for 2026. They call it playing GM. All right. So this was on the Just Baseball show. Jack McMullen and Peter Appel, they came up with 5 moves they would be looking to make if they were in the Giants' shoes. So some of them we've talked about before, some of them we haven't. I'm just going to go through all 5 of them and give the kind of breakdowns where I see fit. Number 1, sign Kyle Tucker. 10 years, $350 million. They say naturally bringing in Tucker is going to significantly raise the floor of whichever team signs him, adding the best free agent in this year's class to an offensive core of Rafael Devers, Willy Adames, and Matt Chapman would give San Francisco one of the better top halves in all of baseball. The Giants' current right field situation is going to be some type of platoon between Drew Gilbert and Luis Matos. While both are young and have room for development, Matos has struggled with consistency, while Gilbert profiles better as more of a fourth outfielder and defensive replacement. So we've talked about Kyle Tucker at length. We didn't know if they were interested. This was also written by Michael Monreal, who also who writes for Just Baseball, and he's kind of writing it based on what those 2 gentlemen had to say on their show, Jack McMullen and Peter Appel. And I don't know, man. I've gone back and forth on this, you know, the Cody Bellinger situation versus Kyle Tucker. What do you like? What do you not like? 10 years is just a lot, and I can't get that clip out of my head when it talked about what is Kyle Tucker great at. I can't get that clip out of my head. Now, we know how good it is to be a 5-tool player, but what if all 5 of your tools are good, not great, right? And I don't think he's a tweener. I think he's a heck of a baseball player. I just think the issue is 10 years. Right? 10 years, $350 million. That's a big commitment. And how the Giants feel about committing to a pitcher like that, that's kind of how I feel about committing to some of these position players. So I just don't know that I would do it. The Cody Bellinger thing, and we're going to talk about another outfielder coming up, Carlos Gutierrez. And I'm never going to say not to make these moves because of prospects, because we know how prospects go. I was actually looking at old prospect lists. I don't know why I was torturing myself, but looking at the Giants' top prospect list from 2022, even 2021, it's crazy. It's crazy how many guys just didn't pan out. So with that being said, I would never say no to a Kyle Tucker because of somebody coming up, but it's not about that. It's more so about, I just don't know if I want to commit that type of money and years to Kyle Tucker. We're talking about trying to maybe move off of some of these deals. And, you know, these guys are only going to get older. Kyle Tucker, to me, even the Rafael Devers thing that we just talked about, being a natural hitter the way he is, that's going to play forever. Kyle Tucker is a stud, don't get me wrong, but he's coming off an iffy season, right? He was trying to find his footing in Chicago. They were saying he should be benched at some point. I just have a problem with the 10 years, and I've gone back and forth, but I more so fall in the camp of Cody Bellinger at 6 versus Kyle Tucker at 10. They're just huge commitments that I just don't feel comfortable with. I really don't. Next on the list. This is a new one. They have Willy Castro, signed Willy Castro, 1 year, $10 million. Willy Castro is one of the more interesting, and this ties in with the different move that they have, so I will add that as well. Willy Castro is one of the more interesting free agents in this year's class. He slashed in 2025, 252, 334, 395. He was an all-star in 2024, but in 2025, he looked like a shell of himself. He had just 225 for 679 OPS. Now, one may look at these numbers and question why any team would be interested in the 28-year-old. While he's never been the guy to hit the cover off the baseball, some of the advanced numbers suggest that the hitter from 2023 and 2024 are still there. If the Giants want to buy low on a potential above-average bat, Castro is a prime candidate. However, second base isn't an essential need for San Francisco. If they wanted to, they can contently run Casey Schmidt out there every day, known as an elite defender, as a prospect, and he's provided some flashes of what that bat could be. He has a chance to develop into one of the better second-best basemen in the National League if he's given the opportunity. Now, here is where everything kind of ties together. Their next move is trading for Kris Bubic. Okay, now who do they have in the trade? They have Carson Whisenhunt. I don't know how many people would be upset about that, but then they also have Casey Schmidt. So they have Carson Whisenhunt and Casey Schmidt to the Royals for Kris Bubic for essentially 1 year of Kris Bubic. All right, they say Buster Posey and the rest of the front office were extremely outspoken about the need for more pitching as soon as the 2025 season concluded. After adding Hauser to the back end of the rotation, they still need a top-end arm to slide in behind Logan Webb. Bubic would only cost San Francisco around $4.5 million in 2026. Hold on, before heading into free agency in the winter. The Giants could hypothetically attempt to sign him to an extension, essentially when you consider the fact that he's a Bay Area native and attended Stanford University. So you don't know if you're going to be able to keep him. Would you be willing to give up Carson Whisenhunt and Casey Schmidt for possibly 1 year of Kris Bubic? That's only an answer that you can come to the conclusion with. My answer, it's really tough. I'm pretty down on Carson Whisenhunt. I'm just going to keep it 1,000 with you. Okay, so to me, that's not the issue. Would I do it for Casey Schmidt and Carson Whisenhunt? Yes, he's obviously in the deal, not trying to disrespect him. Would I do it? I'm leaning more towards yes, because I'm just a fan of the youth movement. I don't know who's going to pan out. You know that I'm a Tony Vitello guy, and I do feel confident that he is going to be able to turn this thing around or to get the Giants to the next stage. And a guy like Casey Schmidt, I do think he has somewhat of a high ceiling. I'm just not sure if it's high enough that we have to, keep him not untouchable. I think the bigger issue is you'd be losing him for one season, right? Or you'd be losing him just to get Kris Bubic for possibly only one season. But you get somebody like that in the building with the culture, with Tony Vitello. Maybe there's a world where he stays, talk about the price tag and whether or not the Giants do try to keep him is another question. But yeah, I don't know. If we think that the Giants, it's hard to tell, because if we think the Giants aren't going to pay to keep him anyway, then what's the point, right? If you know that Kris Bubic is going to be priced out, then I don't necessarily know that it makes a lot of sense. But if the Giants feel like, hey, he's going to be in our price point, or if it's somebody within our organization we feel differently about paying that money, then I would do it. So it's a tough one. I do lean more towards yes to do it than no. I love you, Casey Schmidt. I like Christian Koss. I like some of the young guys they have coming up. So I would do the deal and just pray that Kris Bubic has a good season and you're able to hold on to him past this upcoming season. The next move on the list, signed Pierce Johnson, 1 year, $5.5 million. The Giants have never been the organization to hand out huge deals to relievers, and this is why they've stayed away from Edwin Diaz, Devin Williams, and Robert Suarez. However, there's still a number of good bullpen arms they can add to improve this group that fell apart in 2025. Pierce Johnson might not be the most appealing name to fans, but he'd bring a solid amount of reliability to the Giants bullpen. I like that as well. And the last one is Michael Kopech, who we talked about. That might have been last week. So we just talked about him. They say 2 years, $15 million. The Giants have already been in touch with Kopech, and it's a deal that makes sense for both sides. He's shown a lot of promise since becoming a full-time reliever, but is still looking for that breakout season. So those are the 5. It's a great article, and you can check out what they have on their Just Baseball show as well. So those are the 5 moves. I like some of them. I don't know that I love any of them, but hey, there are options there that the Giants can pick and choose and see what they want to do. One more segment with you. Hey, it's been a while since we've done a player profile, so let's get right into it with Carlos Gutierrez, who is a very high-level bat-to-ball outfielder with some good speed. More Locked On Giants coming up. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Giants with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more. All for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonsfgiants.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. If you're a true diehard Giants fan, the Everydayer All Access tier is built for you. You'll get one-on-one text access with me, all access episodes, an exclusive newsletter, and 15% discount to the Locked On merch store. Head to lockedonsfgiants.supercast.com to join the Everydayer Club and unlock all access. You can also find the link in the show notes. Last segment with you, and it's a bit of a throwback as we're heading into 2026. We haven't done a player profile in a while, trying to wait it out and see what happens with these trades and this free agency. But let's get right back to it with the number 20 prospect for the Giants, Carlos Gutierrez. Carlos Gutierrez out of Mexico is kind of a unique case. He starred at an 18 and under World Cup qualifier in November 2022 while helping host Mexico win a bronze medal. This is from MLB.com, by the way. Then signed with the Giants for $32,000 2 months later. After recurring back issues limited him to 25 games in 2 rookie-level leagues in his first 2 pro seasons, he has been running away with the Single-A California League batting title this season, or I should say ran away with it. Employing a mature approach at the plate, Gutierrez rarely chases outside the strike zone and makes consistent contact to all fields. He has a smaller frame and doesn't turn on or lift many pitches, which does limit his power upside. He knows he's not a slugger, so he focuses on putting the ball in play with his compact left-handed stroke and getting on base. Gutierrez has solid speed, gets out of the batter's box quickly, and stands out with his instincts in all phases of the game. He has been a prolific base stealer against lower-level competition and makes good reads and routes in the outfield. Though he is a capable center fielder, he has played mostly right field due to the speedier Dakota Jordan, and his average arm strength works on the corners. So that is kind of a layout from MLB.com. I also have this breakdown from McCovey Chronicles on Carlos Gutierrez. Gutierrez, a left-handed hitter from Mexico who turned 21 in August, was given one of the most challenging opening assignments of any Giants prospect, despite not being the most heralded player. After making his professional debut in the Dominican Summer League in 2023, Gutierrez was brought over in 2024 for his stateside debut in the Arizona Complex League, but only played in 3 games due to injury. Despite that, the Giants, perhaps for logistical purposes or perhaps because of Gutierrez's contact skills, decided to have him start 2025 with Low A San Jose, a shocker given his age and lack of experience. It turns out the Giants knew what they were doing. All Gutierrez did with the baby Giants is hit, and hit some more. He sported an outrageous .351 batting average on the year, and thanks to a high walk rate, his on-base percentage was .445 and in the modest .452 slugging percentage. And Gutierrez ended the year with an .896 OPS. That's not the only good news either. Gutierrez, as one might expect with a great contact hitter, rarely whiffed, okay? 13.7% strikeout rate. His speed was on display. He stole 26 bases in 60 games while getting caught just 3 times. And he played a high-quality outfield, as we mentioned before. Mostly right field, but he can't play center. There were a few warts. Injuries once again limited Gutierrez, who played in fewer than half of San Jose's games. He's only played 85 games in his 3-year career, which is a very low number. And even when you account for 2 of those years being short season ball. And there is a distinct lack of power for Gutierrez, who hit 2 home runs in 293 plate appearances. Fangraphs gives him a 30-40 on both raw power and game power. And those numbers might be a little generous, but there's no arguing the bat to ball skills among the 89 California League hitters with at least 200 appearances this year. Gutierrez ranked first in batting average by a mile, third in on-base percentage, 31st in walk rate, and third in strikeout rate, ninth in walks per strikeout, and fourth in OPS. So that is the breakdown on Carlos Gutierrez. His estimated arrival is 2028, which is right around the corner. Says he goes 5'10". Don't want to shave off any inches. 5'10", 174. Okay, he is 21, so he could fill out a little bit. Like I said, his arrival is 2028. You look at the Bo Davidsons and Dakota Jordan, they're 23 and 22 years old. Bo is 23. Dakota is 22. I think Bo must have just turned 23 because I feel like he was just 22. But yeah, those are some of the pros and cons of Carlos Gutierrez. And I like what I'm hearing. The reason I wanted to focus on him is because he sounds like a guy that the Giants are more so trying to head towards, right? They don't like the whiff rate. They understand that Oracle Park is not a bandbox. You're not going to hit a bunch of home runs, but you do have to do it sometimes. And I think that's the con, just not having really any power, at least not right now. He could fill out to me, 174, 5'10". There's definitely a little bit of room there. He's only 21. So definitely more room. And they can teach him, hey, if they say to him, and we've seen this before, and this is what the Giants have been preaching. Hey, and it's not about, I saw somebody comment and say, you don't just teach power or anything like that. It's about the lift, right? And it's about the exit velo. And I really sound like the person that I normally can't stand when I'm talking about launch angle and exit velo. But in this specific situation, if you already have the bones to have those bat to ball skills and to have a good batting average, yeah, let's get a little bit more loft. Let's go for broke a little bit more and see what we can do there. Being a base stealer, I think, is huge. I think the two things, one can be improved. The other one, I don't know. That's just up to him and his body. The power, if you will, I do think can be improved based on launch angle and things like that, and just filling out more. I do think it can be improved. He's not going to be a 30 home run guy. Don't get me wrong, but it can be improved. The injuries, that I don't know. The injury part of it, that's a part I don't know. When you're not playing in a lot of games, even in short season, and it seems like that word is creeping up as far as injury prone, that is the larger issue to me. But if he stays healthy, I do think the Giants could have somebody that can, do some different things on the base paths and in the batter's box and in the field, right? I mean, a guy that can play all three outfield positions. Back in the day, that didn't seem like a big deal, but it's a big deal nowadays, especially if you can play a solid center field. Because again, we don't know which one of these guys is going to hit. Hopefully it's a couple of them, but at the very least, hopefully at least one of them does when it comes to one outfielder, one infielder, and a couple of the pitchers. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Thank you for watching Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow me on social media at @the_Styles Files, Styles with an I. Look, maybe you give gifts for New Year's. That's not crazy. If you need a last minute holiday gift or someone keeps asking you what you want, make it easy. Ask for the Everydayer Club. Ad-free episodes of this show, exclusive Discord server access, and more. Subscriptions can be gifted through LockedOnSFGiants.supercast.com. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On MLB. We will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, peace.